regularly scheduled meeting of Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is Tuesday, January 20th, and the time is 9:05.
Roll call. Ibarra.
Here.
Glazier.
Present.
Fazio.
Here.
Hara.
Here.
Woods Gray.
Here.
Fire Chief Terrazas.
Here.
And in place of Assistant City Attorney De La Guerra is? Deputy City Attorney Julie Rapish. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Flag salute and moments.
Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Yes.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
So, first item is Commissioner comments.
I got a chance to, well, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year to all. I got a chance to see our department in action on the Christmas Day fire over at the at that motel in Westlake, and you know, our department did an outstanding job on a very difficult situation there. I think, you know, we're going to talk about probably the budget a little later, so I may save I'll save some comments for later. But I just really saw how our emergency incident technicians are so important, and that battalion operated without, and now they got them to do our interim budget. And when we get to our budget document, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But it was very enlightening to be able to see an actual working incident and how that happens. But anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
I need to start with the last event first, and that was yesterday. We had a very exciting day in the Kingdom Day Parade. The chief invited me to ride along with him on the bandwagon, which was a lot of fun. And I was in charge of the bells and whistles, so, you know, I really had fun. So I could greet all my friends along the way with either a toot-toot or something. It was a great turnout, and the fire department, I thought, was well received because people all along the way were saying how much they thanked them for. Chief Rideout was there also, and they all came over and said, "We thank you, we appreciate you, you know, we love you, let's take pictures with you." They really showed their appreciation for the fire department. I'm very happy that we were there to represent this department. I also want to give a shout out to Captain Escobar and Wilhelm over at Station 26, because it's a group over there that's always ready to help. And I experienced that in talking to them about some issues in the community, and they were ready to go, ready to help. And I appreciate the fact that we have firefighters who are available and ready to help when people really need them. So I'm sure that there are many others out there just like those two, but those are two I dealt with in the time that we were off. And so I wanted to give a shout out to that station and to the services that they provide. I also had an opportunity to attend the swearing in for the statewide officers on January 5th, and that was a good thing. The mayor and a number of commissioners were there and recognized for being commissioners. We didn't go because we were commissioners. We went because we helped elect a good team of people, and so rolling out the blue was important to us, so that's why we went. But it was good to be there and have that support. And I think that's probably, I can't remember. We were gone so long, I forgot what I did before yesterday. But a Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks.
Okay, so that's Commissioner comments. Item 2 is report of the fire chief. Announcements, meetings, events.
Thank you, Madam President. We have had a lot of activity since our last meeting. On December 18th, we had our annual LAFD headquarters employee luncheon here in City Hall East. It was well attended. Thank God we had the fire marshal there to make sure we had clear aisles. So it was very good to see everybody there. On the same day, later that day, we had a Battle of the Badges press conference for a blood drive competition between the LAPD, LAFD, LA County Sheriff's Department and LA County Fire Department. Over the next several months, we'll be collecting blood at various donations, and at the end of that time frame, we'll see who donated the most blood. On December 23rd, we had our LAFD promotional badge ceremony at Frank Hotchkiss Memorial Training Center. It was a nice Christmas present to our members. We promoted several people, various ranks, inspectors, captains, Captain 1s, Captain 2s, battalion chiefs, deputy chiefs. Very well attended, and that's the second one that I've done. I think we're going to continue that tradition. It's a very nice thing for the families, photo opportunities, meet and greet, and it really speaks to the fire department family to be able to do that. A lot of things had to happen for timing reasons, but we're able to pull it off. Thanks to the staff, my admin staff, personnel department, mayor's office, CAO. A lot of people work together to make that happen. December 24th, we had the annual supply and maintenance pancake breakfast at the shops. It's the first time I had attended that. If you haven't done that, you need to do it. It was outstanding. I didn't know the magnitude of that event. There was hundreds of people there. They actually do an annual inspection before. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, it's a time for the shops to stand down, clean up their areas, paint stripes, bring out the Christmas decorations, prepare the pancake grills, and it's a real family event. So it was an outstanding event. December 29th, we had the first class, 2014, since we did the stratified random sampling. We have 43 recruits in that class. We are currently building the March class, and that is will be a sample of 300, but then the June class is a sample of 500. On January 6th, we had a one-story single-family dwelling fire in North Hollywood. It was non-injury. The cause is most likely electrical, but a dried-out Christmas tree was a significant contributing factor. So Peter Sanders identified that it was a Christmas tree. We rolled out a press conference later that afternoon with the mayor. He showed up. We got a lot of TV coverage. And just this weekend, we had another fire where a Christmas tree was a contributing factor. So here we are almost a month after Christmas, and we're still dealing with Christmas trees. I have to give a shout-out to the sanitation department. I called them the day that we had the press conference with the mayor and asked if they would extend their Christmas tree pickup program at the fire stations, and they, without hesitation, agreed to do so. I think next year we're going to look at having more of them at more fire stations and extending the time frame for pickup. On January 11th, we had an historic day on the fire department. Our 4-bureau command structure was implemented. We have the battalion chiefs now reporting to each of the bureau commanders. The 4 locations are up and running, various stages of progress in their development, but they are up and running today. So I think that's significant, and we'll hear more about that in today's agenda. And then yesterday was the Kingdom Day Parade, and it was a great turnout. I echo the Commissioner's comments. Was great. It was a good time. The fire department is well appreciated. I think those are great opportunities to share the potential career opportunities with the fire department. I was talking to Chief Rideout about that this morning. We're going to look at, in the future, promoting more hiring. Put a banner on the side, lafd.org. We're hiring, things of that nature. So it was a great day. It was a great day to represent the fire department. That concludes my report.
Thank you. So moving on to significant incidents and activities.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Council, Chief Terrazas, and Leticia. The following represents the significant fire activity in the Operations West Bureau, the new subdivision, since our last meeting. On the 20th of December, LAFD units responded to a reported structure fire at 10635 Wilshire Boulevard, and they found a 6-story apartment house with fire running vertically, the walls from the 4th floor to the 6th floor. We had ultimately 18 fire companies, well over 100 firefighters show up. They were successful in both evacuating the occupants and chasing the fire down. They did chase it from 4th to the 6th floor with significant interior wall damage on all floors, but there were no injuries, and they were able to, they had one patient transported with smoke inhalation. But the firefighters, in addition to doing a great job of attacking the fire, they really took care of the occupant rescue and stabilization part of that incident, which was even more significant than the fire, which is a skill set that has really evolved over the last 15 years, concurrently with the firefight, taking care of the occupants, and they did really an outstanding job. Additionally, there was an incident on the 5th of January in Culver City, had a significant fire, and we had units from Operations West Bureau respond both to the fire and to backfill Culver City fire stations during that time. And I bring that up because when we spoke about the Temple fire, the Da Vinci fire, we did have Area A fire companies come in and backfill some of our stations, which is a lot rarer occurrence than what happened here, where we show up to assist Santa Monica, Culver City at significant fires. And with that, I will bring up the Central Bureau Commander, Deputy Chief Legal.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Commissioner, Commissioners, Council, Chief Terrazas. I'm Phil Flegel. I'm the Central Bureau Commander, Deputy Chief for Central Bureau. And I have 4 significant incidents that we've had since the Christmas break here. And the first one actually occurred at the same time the Da Vinci fire occurred back in December 8th. About 3 hours after the Da Vinci fire, we had a structure fire at 2871 West 7th Street, where we had a 2-story commercial building that was under construction that LAFD responded to, and it was fire through the roof when companies first got on scene. Due to the high volume of fire, we went from an offensive mode to a defensive attack and had to put that fire out. And that significant commitment amount of companies that we had to coincide with the companies that were at the Da Vinci fire, so we were able to take care of that situation. Luckily, there were no firefighter injuries, and they were able to get that fire knocked down quite swiftly. The next one was a river rescue event that occurred on December 12th of last year. And again, the river rescue is probably one of our most significant and complicated incidents that we have in the city, with having to coordinate resources and get people to actually find where the victim is in the water. And that was around the 287600 block of Glendale Boulevard in the LA River, where the report was for several people to be in the river. Our air assets were able to determine there was actually 2 people stuck on a middle island area of the LA River. And through, I guess, ground-based rescue efforts, they were able to get in the water, get across to that river island area, and extricate 2 people off the island area in the middle of the river and bring them back down to safety. And luckily, there were no injuries that were occurred from those people or any of the LAFD firefighters, so that was handled quite swiftly. The next one was a structure fire that happened actually on Christmas Day at 1906 West 3rd Street, and it was a 3-story motel that was in the central area of Los Angeles and 11th First End, where they had several occupancies jumping from the 2nd and 3rd floors of the structure when first units got on scene. And due to the swift actions of LAFD resources, they were able to take care of knocking down the fire very rapidly. Unfortunately, they had some injuries of the people that did jump from the 2nd and 3rd floors. And out of the several people that were treated, only 4 people actually got transported to hospitals with no life-sustaining or life-threatening injuries, and they were taken care of. And lastly, on Saturday here in the Wilshire area, we had a structure fire at let's see what the address here was 556 West Western Avenue, and it was a 4-story apartment building with 1 story of commercial underneath there, and it was a pet shop that had a small fire in a rear room. And firefighters were able to make a attack to find where the fire was and knock the fire down. And luckily, nobody on the other floors were exposed to any heat or any smoke, and there were no injuries to the occupants above. Unfortunately, 20 birds and several hundred goldfish were succumbed to the smoke and the heat that were from the fire. So that was the only casualties that we really had at the incident, and there were no other firefighter injuries or any civilian injuries. And that's the end of the report for the Central Bureau. Thank you.
Good morning. Daryl Arbuthnot, Valley Bureau, Madam President, Commission Chief. Just 2 incidents to brief you on. On January 9th, we had a single-engine plane at the intersection, basically the 16,000 block of Van Owen, a solo pilot, fatal crash, and we remained on scene as coordination for NTSB, LAWA, and the FAA. That was the small incident. The larger incident was also there was a structure fire on January 3rd. This was in 89th District. It was on a side street where they had a single-family resident. They had 21 residents living in there, 9 adults. The others were children. And the fire was somewhat significant. Everybody got out. The smoke detectors were not working. They did have them. They weren't working. The bigger piece of this was that 89s, the members took their own initiative to set up a temporary housing facility at our Fire Station 89 training room, regional training room. The Red Cross came out. It was cold at night. They brought refreshments, a warm place, and actually this was something that we had been looking towards doing anyway, kind of tied in with our resiliency piece. The fire was somewhat related to a Christmas tree, another dead Christmas tree. Chief Terrazas assembled a few of us, and we had a press conference out there with the mayor. So that was the only 2 incidents we had during this period. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Palacios, South Bureau. First, I want to talk about an incident we had on New Year's Eve. It's great coordination between MFC and the fire companies and the IC on scene. It occurred about 18:21 hours on New Year's Eve. Report of 4 people trapped in a mezzanine area above a fire. Our company's typical aggressively attacked the fire, while at the same time doing a coordinated search and rescue. They found the 4 people, extracted them out, and continued to fight the fire. They transported all 4 people to the hospital. They knocked down the fire in a short amount of time. We were lucky on that one, but it was great coordination between our dispatch center, letting them know we had people trapped. Second incident I want to talk about, we had a large incident, major emergency in Fire Station 94's district at 6050 West Jefferson. We first arriving companies responded to a large 200 by 300 commercial with fire through the roof. Despite aggressive attack, we went fall back to the defensive attack because of the weakening of the roof and about a 10-minute the collapse of the whole roof. Firefighters also had exposures on all 3 sides. They had, because of the radiant heat, it was catching them on fire. They did a very good job of protecting those exposures. We utilized Culver City Fire Department on the D side of the fire. It's great that we have those mutual aid agreements and automatic agreements to work with those other agencies. They basically fought the fire, knocked it down in a few hours. We remained on scene, met with arson in the morning, determined the cause, and we stuck around to make sure that the owner of the building, when we're continuing to check with the owner of the building, see what other items they need. Lastly, I want to talk about the King Day Parade. We've been having meetings over the last 2 months, pre-planning meetings with the Fire Prevention Bureau, LAFD command staff from South Bureau, and we also with DOT, LAPD, and CHP. With that, on that day that we had 3 engines deployed. We had 5 rescue ambulance, 4 bike medic teams, 2 Gator teams, EMS captain, and then we had a lot of command staff from South Bureau at the command post. We treated 12 patients. We transported 7 patients. We also worked with LAPD. They had a few skirmishes and some other things we had to make sure, and we were there with force protection to assist them if anything had occurred. But we also did one reunification of a child to a family. So it was a very successful. But there is quite a deployment at those types of parades behind the scenes. You probably don't see that, but we have a lot of planning goes into it, and it was came out to a very good event. Thank you. That's my report.
You know, Madam President, it was impressive to see the bikers there, because all along the route, where every few blocks, you could see them, and they said fire, so we knew they weren't police people; they were our people. And the good thing about that is, because of the number of people, it's just great to have them there, because it's hard to get through or navigate those streets if you have an emergency with thousands of people on the street and then all the other people. So I was really happy to we took pictures with them. We met them earlier, and then noticing them along the way, I felt that it was a really safe environment because of so many resources that were deployed along the way. So thanks, Chief, for a lot of you.
Great. So report by the Medical Director.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas. I'm Greg Raynar, Commander of our EMS Division. Dr. Eckstein is unable to be here with us today, so I'm going to provide you his report for the period December 17th through January 20th. On the evening of December 25th, Department Resources responded to a multi-patient traffic collision on the eastbound 101 freeway near Winnetka. We worked together with CHP officers and actually assessed 10 patients and ultimately transported 8 patients to local area hospitals. On the morning of January 2nd, resources in Battalion 14 responded to Universal City Metro Rail Station. On our arrival, we determined one person had been struck by a red line train and was deceased. Our resources worked in a unified command structure with Metro Rail officials, the LA County Sheriff's Department. We assisted the coroner's office and actually removed the patient from under the train. The incident received significant media attention, as you probably heard. And then finally, on the evening of January 15th, resources assigned to Fire Station 7 responded to a residential home and reported psychiatric emergency type incident. On arrival, it was determined the patient was barricaded in a bathroom and reportedly had a knife. LAPD officers were immediately summoned for help. And upon their arrival, an officer-involved shooting occurred. And our members were not in the immediate area when that happened and were uninjured. Our members immediately began advanced life support, treatment and care of the patient, and the patient was transported to a local trauma center. That incident also received media attention. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have presentations, right? So 4 is the consent agenda item.
Move to adopt item 4A as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we move on to 5A, which is the report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters. Referred to council.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Julie, and Ms. Gomez, Graham Everett, Chief of Staff, with a report for the council and committee activities for December 8th through January 9th. There are several items in your packet that went through both committee and council that you had previously seen in previous meetings that just made their way through the system. Most were adopted. There were a couple that were continued for 60 days. For instance, there was a report back on a motion filed about a feasibility report for Fire Station 76, a new location. We're reporting back on that in about 60 days or so. Other than that, I can answer any questions you may have. There's nothing outside of this report because council was in recess during the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. We have actually, no, we have public comment. So, Dr. Tom Williams.
This is for which?
5A, which is,
5A.
Yeah.
5A. I recommend that the board instruct the representatives for the fire department to the other city council committees to participate in PLUM, Planning, Land Use Management, because they considered a hillside ordinance variation. And it was basically on a 20-foot wide road. They were going to allow 0 funnel setback in an area that is, you call it brush, we call it chaparral. A question. We're going to be reviewing all of these areas, especially in the Sunland and Mulholland area, to find out whether brush inspection is actually done. But there was no representative of the fire department at Plum, as also there's situations in the Department of Water and Power and the Committee for Energy and Environment. When there is a massive water loss, rupture, that means the pressure in the surrounding area for the fire hydrants has gone way down. You also have to respond. Are you charging the DWP for the responses of the fire department? Maybe there should be a city council resolution to support some reimbursement for costs. Can't reimburse for the risk, but for the cost of fire department responses, because these ruptures are largely due to a policy of the Board of Water and Power to not allow replacement of our aging infrastructure. It costs them too much money, so they transfer the costs to the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you. We could have somebody in the department just follow up on that, if it's appropriate. Do I have a motion?
Move to adopt item 5A as recommended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moving on to 5B, which is report by the department relative to the Fire Prevention Bureau. Overview and action plan.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner, Deputy Chief John Vidovich, Fire Marshal, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, City Attorney Letitia. What you have before you is, in essence, my initial assessment as the new Fire Marshal of the Fire Prevention Bureau. The Fire Chief had directed me to evaluate the Fire Prevention Bureau. In meeting with Commissioner Fazio and Commissioner Glazier, we discussed some of the concerns of the commissions and what they were looking for from the Fire Prevention Bureau. We have established 4 primary goals. One is obviously to develop this action plan before you. The other is to reorganize the Fire Prevention Bureau, deliver service delivery to new construction projects, and leverage technology. As we look at that, our partnerships, we've met with the Department of Building and Safety and the Housing Department, and with the Building and Safety Department, we have a partnership plan to improve service delivery in new construction projects. This is a 17-point plan that the Chief and Mr. Chan, the GM of the Housing Department, have signed. We are actually doing a presentation tomorrow to this at the Building and Safety Department. In regards to reorganizing the Fire Prevention Bureau, really the goal is to be metric driven, and as we evaluate our inspections throughout the Fire Prevention Bureau, we're looking to right size our inspections based on capacity. We're looking at the number of inspections we have, the number of inspectors we have, and really to bring a report subsequently after we complete this analysis to show the areas where we do need additional inspectors. It's not going to be a swag, it's going to be metric driven, and there's a science behind that. We are working with FireStat to ensure that we have the appropriate capacities in place. And then in regards to leveraging technology, the department was designated an innovation center by the Mayor's Office. The Fire Prevention Bureau was one of the bureaus. With that designation, we began leveraging our abilities to look at additional technology to improve how we perform. The first thing we're doing in that area is in regards to Brycer for our Chief Regulation 4 inspections. Brycer is a private company that we have partnered with to track our Reg 4 inspection cycles. We actually are going to begin that February 1st, and then after a 3 to 4 month analysis, we will be able to see the successes of that program. The other areas in regards to leveraging technology is working with the Housing Department. Chief Palacio mentioned the fire in South Los Angeles. As we started looking at that, we had in that occupancy, we had illegal residential construction. The Housing Department had cited that in 2011, and when they went out to re-inspect it, the housing had been removed. What we've discussed, as the Chief mentioned, is risk-based inspections. We want to capture that type of data, so we asterisk it that we know during an inspection the Housing Department received a complaint. So when we go back out, we start looking for that. And it's that data sharing that we currently don't do, but we have that opportunity. And finally, under Chief Terrazas' leadership, we've been able to promote 6 inspectors in the last 3 months, and that's significant. We've had significant shortages over the past several years. So we are stepping in the right direction. And the last thing I know, Commissioner Glazier, that you're interested in is in the false alarm program. We weren't prepared to bring that forward at this commission meeting, but we are aggressively working on developing the fine points of that for a future commission date. And with that completes this report. Any questions on the overall report?
I just wanted to express my appreciation for the, thoughtfulness in which this was put together. It's in 10 pages, gives a fabulous overview of, where we are, where we're going, how you want to kind of configure it, and just kind of kudos to the fire chief and to you, Chief Vidovich, for, really making a concise document. And at the risk of getting you in trouble with all of your peers, I hope this becomes kind of a template for each of the bureau commanders to kind of look within the bureau and come up with, kind of how you want to do what you're going to do and what the action plans are. I think it's great, so I really appreciate it in terms of the comprehensive, action-orientated nature and fact-finding nature. It's just really, really well done. So thanks to the chief and to the fire marshal for helping create a plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woods Gray?
Yes, I have a concern, and I'm not sure if this is the right place at the appropriate time, but talking about working with the planning department and the fire department, my concerns is about the rebuilding of that Da Vinci building. Are we working with planning, and is there any possibility of changing the plans for that building? Because the way it went up before, not only were our firefighters in danger with the water supplies and everything that were there, but the next time there may be people in that building. And so I'm really concerned about that particular plan and that particular building, and I know they're going to rebuild it because that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and that's a good question. There have been ongoing discussion in regards to potential code changes in the future. There's a meeting with the International Code Council scheduled for April, in which the fire department and building and safety participate in for potential code changes. One of the discussions we've had is the potentially of sprinklering that building while it's under construction. And building and safety handles that. So they're looking into that, but no definitive decisions have been made thus far.
And they're looking at it for that particular building?
That's correct.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Hi. So just to echo what Commissioner Fowler just said, I think it's a really great start on, I think, tackling, what is a thorny problem for us as a department. So I want to appreciate the work that you put in on this. I think it's really thoughtful. So thank you for doing it. Thank you to all involved. A couple of questions here. Our inspection division is unique, I think, in our department in that it is one with sort of a classic, where you can really apply some classic or management work, and that you have inputs and you have outputs. We have a number of inspections we have to do, and either we get them done or we don't get them done. And so that makes this really well suited for us to kind of apply, metrics and goals, and to be able to say, here's our goal, we're going to get this number done in this amount of time. And I know you're working towards that. And I think well, for me, I would say I'm interested along the way of seeing how we're doing. I originally, asked for some work to be done here a while back because we had such a significant backlog in our department. And, there may be a lot of different factors that go into how that backlog happened. But my main interest is in how do we eliminate the backlog. That's interest number one. And so what I would just request is maybe going forward that we just establish as long as there is a backlog existing in the department, that we get some sort of a quarterly backlog report that shows a differential where we say, okay, at the last, this year, at this quarter, we have, our backlog is 1,600 cases. That is down or up from, next column is, what the variance is from the previous report. So that's one request. And recognizing we've got a big backlog, we have some staffing issues involved there that are going to help us eliminate that, and probably seems like we've got some management issues that you are working on addressing. And then the next thing is I noticed that you were, by June, in the second quarter, going to be arriving at some performance metrics. I think that's great. What I hope to see out of that is some publicly stated goals that we can maybe in July or June, July, in that time frame there where you're able to come and say, our goal is to accomplish this number of inspections by within the fiscal year. And then we can look at quarterly reports on how are we doing against our goals. And if we say we're going to complete 500 inspections by September, great. Let's see how we do. And then just kind of have that kind of as an ongoing thing, so we're really able to just see how are we doing with our inspections. One, highlight the importance of the inspections, because I think it is it does have a huge impact on our ability on literally fire prevention, among other things. But also so we can just, we're able to kind of really have some visibility into how we're performing as a department along the way. How do those things sound to you?
No, they sound doable. I just want to caution and recognize, as we look at the analytics and performance management, we know there's areas within the Fire Prevention Bureau we're understaffed. And when we come back in July, we'll indicate there's, as an example, schools and churches. It's an area we've looked at. We know we're understaffed. And we're going to tell the supervisor, based on your staffing and the amount of work you have, your performance target is X percent. And then we're going to come back to the commission and tell you in the budgetary process that for us to get to that 100%, I need additional staffing. And that's the way we're doing it. And we're looking at areas, if we're overstaffed in any area and we're adjusting, the fire chief has given very clear direction that anything that's state mandate, he wants that as a priority. I have a meeting this afternoon with Tanya Hoover, the state fire marshal, to provide her an update on where we're going in this area.
Yeah. So that all makes sense to me, yeah, I think you hit on the key point there, which is let's establish, we want to set goals. We also want to say how we're doing against the specific metrics. If there's no body in the job, then, they're not going to hit their metric. But, again, I think this also gives us an opportunity to highlight inspection and say, look, inspection's important. We have a goal here. We're not going to be able to hit that goal, we don't think, unless we have, budgeted, time to do the work. But at the same time, I think it holds us accountable as a department, so we're not throwing money at something, and we're not hitting our existing performance metrics. So if you're establishing metrics and we're hitting those metrics and we can't get the job done, well, then we have a real case to say, look, everybody's performing and we're managing this really tightly, but we can't get the job done with the number of people we've got. We need a few more. And then I feel really good about saying, great, let's push, let's budget for some additional authorities or fill some positions or whatever it is. But I just want to make sure that if we're spending money on it, it's because we truly need the jobs. We truly need the position authorities, not because we're not using the existing positions effectively. And I know you're totally on board with this. And so I think as a commissioner, I just would like for us to be able to kind of get that information and be able to support you in kind of implementing what you want to do. And if ultimately we need more authorities, we need more authorities. But we want to be able to be really transparent about why we need those authorities to get the job done.
Yes, sir.
Does that work?
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you so much for all your work on this.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I add a comment to that?
Yeah.
We'll certainly respond to those requests. I think that's in perfect alignment with our fire stat. We've already fire statted the Bureau late last year, and those metrics and those goals will be within the fire stat process, and we certainly can bring them to this commission at a future meeting.
One of the things that I didn't see here is something that you've discussed with us recently, which is like there's some specific challenges in the department, including like the Coupa stuff, and I'm just wondering how that fits into this.
Yeah, that is on a separate track because of the requirements from the state, and when we have to hit their targets. Once we receive that formal letter, we'll bring back that to the commission as well. But I put that on a totally separate track because it's a state mandate and we're being held by them on a very tight timeline. The chief thought this timeline that I put together was very tight. The state's timeline on that Coupa is incredibly tight as well. I've placed Captain Kenny Miller as our project manager for that project, and he'll be reporting here within the next 3 months back to the commission on an update. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We actually have 3 public comments on this, so we'll start with Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, I would recommend not to receive and file this document. The Fire Prevention Bureau has 2 basic differences, different elements. One is buildings, the one B word. The other one is brush. And the only reason that I would look at this is it does say brush inspections, but there's no other reference in all of this, frankly, garbage, regarding brush, which is a real problem because you actually start doing operational changes because of the brush fire season. So it's except for the one use of the B word, it's all for structures. Where's the other section of the fire prevention? There's also a matter that it doesn't recognize the fact that there are almost 100 neighborhood councils as part of community representation. And oh, by the way, those are all under the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, another department. But there's no mention of neighborhood councils. Other things, yeah, but where are those basic elements? Community interactions. We want to interact. We want to help because it's to our self-interest. I have 11 acres of open space on an uphill slope on my backside. So I am very concerned about brush. It's never been fully cleared in compliance with the brush inspection requirements. So we're quite concerned. Send it back and have them redo it and take out a lot of the PR garbage on the front page. Thank you. It does have to include brush. Thank you.
Thank you. So next comment is from Frank Lima, UFLAC President.
Madam President, good morning. Frank Lima with United Firefighters. Yeah, I'd like to address a few things. A well-funded and effective fire prevention program is one of the cornerstones of our great department. As we know, fire inspectors do more than inspect buildings and enforce the code. They also serve on the front lines as firefighters during times of disaster when they're recalled. Over the last several years, our department has been decimated by staffing cuts, and the focus has been on increased response times in the field, but our inspectors have also been impacted by these cuts. Recently, management has been exerting a tremendous pressure on these men and women to do more with less. When you cut 20% of your workforce, you are going to see impacts. That is exactly what we're seeing today in the decrease in inspections. It's not an inspector problem, it's a math problem, as Mayor Garcetti would say. We can't complete the inspections with the current manpower, period. You know, that's it. I'm waiting for somebody to say that, but nobody said that yet. Our inspectors maintain very complex level of necessary training requirements, as well as manage a large amount of caseloads of inspections. They go to EMT training, they get last-minute safety watches that are thrown upon them, and nowhere was it mentioned in the document that this bureau brings money into the city. Okay, that needs to be mentioned as well. As long as the alternative staffing in the PA report, this is a third rail issue with the mayor's office and United Firefighters of Los Angeles City recommending civilians. There are certain civilians that augment what we do, but make, no bones about it. The fire department has chosen not to fully staff these fire prevention units, so it's easy. You're bound to fail if you don't support them. In regards to performance management, there's too much oversight. It causes work slowdown. Computer entries have to be made before and after inspections, and then the inspectors are required to be like attorneys and fill out a daily sheet of 15-minute increments, which further takes them away from doing their job. So, for example, the environmental unit 10 years ago had 5 Inspector 2s. They have 1 today. And I'd like to introduce you to our one of our best inspectors on the department and our UFLAC steward, Dave Riles, for some comment.
Okay, and he actually filled out a card. So I will acknowledge Mr. Riles. Thank you, LAFD inspector. So that's our third public comment on this subject. Thanks.
Hi, good morning. Inspector Dave Riles, representing inspectors, obviously, UFLAC steward. The metric system sounds great. If we're running sound bites, it sounds wonderful. But is it needed? Is it what is needed to actually fix the problem? As indicated previously with other comments, we're down on numbers. Having the shortcomings over the last couple years, I think in the fire marshal's report it indicated we're down 20 positions. To current date, I guess we've hired up as many as 6. We're still short. I get the concerns that management has in regards to not being able to complete 100% of our inspections in all of our districts. But there are many reasons why that doesn't occur. We're just simply spread a little thin. Personnel shortages, obviously, as mentioned previously. Technology shortfalls and shortcomings that we have in that regard in terms of how we turn around and how we process permits. things, other properties, or other responses that we need to give to the public, the time it takes to turn around the fire safety notice and to do the re-inspections and whatnot. We have other bureau or other commitments to the fire department as a bureau. We have to complete with our training. We have to respond to recalls when the department is short out in the field. They're out there hustling and they need fire inspectors that come and fill behind fire companies to sit on wires down or to fulfill whatever task so that they can move on to something more important. As President Lima has indicated, there's the last minute safety watch. You'll get a call a day before and all of a sudden that changes your whole day for tomorrow. I had a whole day planned and scheduled. Now I got to reschedule all of those things. Then you come back to work and then there's a unit meeting or there's bureau training or there's something else going on. We do the best we can with what we have to try to accommodate everybody and to make sure that we provide the most ultimate service we can to the citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, a motion to receive and file?
Make a motion to receive and file, and an expression of appreciation for all that gets done within the unit by the inspectors. And that doesn't preclude my enthusiasm for the way in which it's been going about the process of improving the unit. But motion to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moving on to 5C, report by the department relative to the proposed budget for fiscal year 2015-2016.
Good morning, Commissioners. Salvador Martinez, ASB, Fire Chief, City Attorney. Ms. Lopez. In front of you today is the department's proposed budget for fiscal year 15-16. Before I begin, I do need to note a correction to the board report you had received earlier. It is in regards to the new request on page 1 of the document of the board report. It lists $99,095,523. This was understated. Our new request is actually amounts to short $1 million. Our new request amounts to $100,203,662. That brings the total of our new request for fiscal year 15-16. Instead of $704 million, it's $705,246,613. Again, it was an understatement of our new request. As we put our numbers together, we try to be as accurate as possible. But we had this was one of our largest, not the largest budget we had in a number of requests. Having stated that, I would like to just take a minute to give you a quick overview of the budget, what we are having. And I'd like to preface it by saying we are constantly meeting weekly with the mayor's staff and the CEO in tweaking the budget, refining it, addressing questions they may have so that we can fully justify all the requests that are in this budget. But to start off, the budget includes a number of large sums. First, I'd like to talk about the restoration of a 3% decrease that we were asked to take. As part of the budget process, all departments were requested to take a decrease of $3 million. That amounted to about $16.7 million for us. We couldn't take that cut without continuing to provide proper service. So what we asked for in our budget was the reinstatement of $16.7 million to our department budget for our salaries. A second key part of our budget was obligatory changes. These are changes due to salary increases, salary steps, and other items improved in MOUs, both with UFLAC and our chief officers and our civilian staff. That amounted to approximately $39 million for the next fiscal year. A third key item was our drill towers. We have requested over $11 million in support of the operation of our 2 drill towers for the 15-16 year. Also included was continuing authorities for funding and positions that were approved in the interim budget request that was recently approved late last year by council. That also added to our increase. And totally, we're requesting approximately 116 positions, 90 of which are sworn, 26 are civilian. We're also asking for an increase on our MICLA funds. Last year it was $20 million. This year it's $52 million. That $52 million includes new requests for apparatus, our ambulances and our fire engines, but it also includes requests for a new AW-139 helicopter as well as a training helicopter for our staff. In addition, it includes the, I think I hit the obligatory changes, but all of these requests were, the department's focus in submitting all these requests was restoring personnel to enhance public safety and firefighter safety. The only thing I also like to add is just upcoming important dates for your consideration and just information. One is April 20th. That's the date that by charter the mayor will submit his proposed budget to council. And then June 1st, that's the date where the charter provides the council has to adopt the budget as proposed by the mayor or modify it for consideration. A couple of dates that'll be coming up for your just your information. I'm here to answer any questions you may have on this budget.
I wanted to again express my appreciation. There's a heck of a lot of work that goes into this for you and June and your whole team there. So great, great comprehensive work, Sal. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Just a couple of questions and comments. On the EIT, so we have our EIT restored here. That was for Battalion 11. That's in place, correct? And this is for continuation of those positions. Just going back to my earlier comment, my fellow commissioners, for anybody else listening out there, I think that there's been some, certainly my experience has been there's some misunderstanding about the role of an EIT, the emergency incident technician, who support our chief officers at incidents. And I had the opportunity to witness a really difficult working incident on that Christmas Day fire. And I couldn't be happy to hear that they've restored the EITs, because it is a dangerous situation when you have a single battalion chief arrive on scene in a very complex and dangerous environment for both civilians involved and for our firefighters. The number of resources that were arriving on that scene simultaneously, while there is fire coming out the windows, or there are jumpers. It's beyond comprehension that we would expect one person to show up on scene and all of a sudden start directing, a very dynamic situation. So, it is a matter of safety that we get these folks restored. So I'm pleased to see the restoration in here, continuing for Battalion 11. I'm pleased to see the additional EIT restoration for sounds like that may go for 14, Battalion 14. But that I think that's a really important position that was lost in our budget cuts, along with a lot of other important positions. But in particular, that's a huge safety issue for our department, for both our firefighters on the fire ground, and for our civilians in there. So I'm pleased to see the restoration. I'm also pleased to see that we are restoring engine companies back, because I know they are a needed resource, both for fire suppression and for our EMS needs. Question on the upgraded paramedic resource: would that be to that's just to confirm that would we be converting some apparatus to assessment? Is that what that's for? Would that be for? Yes. Okay. All right. Great. And then I think I had one other question in here. While I remember, I'll yield the floor in case somebody else has any other questions.
I assume maybe Chief Rueda could help with this if you're not sure of the answer, Sal, that the Erickson Crane contractual issue that we ran into a couple of years ago and that we remedied this year is also contemplated in this particular budget, where we're going to do it a little bit earlier given the dry nature of the weather and the fuel out there and all that stuff. Yes.
For 15-16, we have accommodated and identified funds for the continuation of the Erickson Crane contract, sir.
From time frames, though, from an extended time frame, that was my concern.
Right. We had 120 days previously. We had looked at 150. It really also depends on their availability, but
yeah. Right. As the season approaches, we actually take a look at how the rest of the year's weather goes here this spring, and when Mother Nature shuts off that sprinkler, we can better anticipate when we might want to start it. The 150 days was the ideal. We'll see what the rate is and what the increase is that we actually get.
So the budget as it currently is configured in this piece of work?
It allowed for an escalation but I think it's the same, basically same.
150. Have we had discussions with them this far in advance about any price adjustments that they might? I mean, are we locked in with Erickson?
No. Well, for this is actually an extension.
Right.
So we did go out last year for an RFP, and we only had one vendor. So.
Right.
Their prices had been pretty flat for a number of years, Commissioner. First year we experienced a small increase in it, but we're carefully monitoring that.
Tell them with the reduction in fuel costs that they ought to have us a reduction in.
I like that approach. Yes, we will. Any other?
Good job with this. Thank you. We have actually one public comment from Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams. I'm only concerned about 3 or 4 pages in this budget. First is the conversion from sworn to civilian in the fire prevention brush unit. Question, can we get more people there? Because it's going to become very overloaded over the next 6 months. We're doing a survey of Mulholland and Mount Washington and the Sunland Tahunga area regarding the 200-foot fuel modification zone, and it's disastrous. However, we would like to recommend that you add at least 4 more to the 2 proposed additional staffing positions. There's also a concept of partnering. Partnering is really an interesting subject because there's no reference to the 100 neighborhood councils times 20 people on each council. That's 2,000 people who volunteer, and that can partner with you quite easily. We don't get the access. Nobody really knows that you exist. Come to the once a month, first Saturday of each month, Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition. You can get at least 20, 30 at that time. Partnering. I am going to be requesting a Public Records Act request for all information, correspondence, documents related to any MOA, MOU, or agreement between the fire department and the Department of Public Works, because they say, we do all the vacant lots. Fire department does all of the structured, developed lots. So we're kind of caught in between. We don't know who's doing what to who and who's getting the money for doing it. The IT elements, miserable. We had better on PDAs than you have now. Thank you.
So, do I have a motion to receive and file?
Move to receive and file item 5C as amended.
Second.
So moving on to 5D.
We gotta vote.
Oh, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moving on to 5D, which is report by the department relative to the Emergency Services Bureau reorganization.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
What you have before you is a brief report of what I would consider one of the most significant organizational changes in the department within the last several decades. The reorganization takes what was formerly the Emergency Services Bureau and regionally places 4 deputy chiefs and their staffs in the community. We've, for a number of years, seen what we perceived as gaps in some of our service and delivery and coverage, and we believe this reorganization is going to move quite a ways to improve those gaps. They include improved communication, increased responsiveness to the public, improved accountability, and what we've heard for years, which is the lack of a bench, no succession planning. The bureaus provide for a bench and for succession planning within each of the bureaus. We also hope to improve influence both in the community and in the business community. Just during this past week, since January 11th, we've seen some of the benefits of the regionally placed bureaus, our interaction at the parade, our interaction at some of the fires that actually had significant recovery phases. So we're very excited about this reorganization. and you met the 4 deputy chiefs today, and I would anticipate great things over the next year. We've also worked with the chief on developing specific measures, and we do plan to come back to the commission twice this year to report back on our progress. And they do include our demonstrated ownership and accountability of our areas. The geography is going to remain the same, and the issues will stick with the owner, which is the deputy chief. Maintenance of effective emergency operations. Just on Friday night, the significant fire in the Baldwin Hills area, the South Bureau command structure was out, working with a business owner the next day, and ensuring that community and the social and economic issues were impacted as little as possible. We see improved communications with both the field and the public, improved relationships and collaboration with allied agencies, reduced administrative workload on field resources, and improved accountability in the department. And lastly, maintenance of interest in the deputy chief and assistant chief positions with this reorganization. So, as I said, we're excited and looking forward to the reorganization, and ready for any questions that you may have.
I like the way that this has been constructed, just as one reporter's opinion. I can see where it takes time to sort of, kind of bake into the organization. I can't fathom this is like an overnight switch switch the light on and have a deputy chief go in and figure it all out, or his assistant. So I think that while everybody is in a high task, get it done mode, I hope the department and those new deputy chiefs will give themselves the understanding internally that it's going to take a little while to kind of figure it all out. But, I know the fire chief and that you, Chief Rueda, have worked really hard on this construct, and I think it's a great one. And I wanted to just also formally congratulate Chief Flegel and Arbonat and Rideout. Didn't want to forget, so I looked down, because I think they're our newest deputy chiefs. But I'm very excited about this. I think this is going to be a terrific step forward for the department, and I, again, wanted to formally give kudos to you and the fire chief, because I know how much work and ingenuity and creativity goes into this, and it'll take a while, and I think that's okay. So give yourselves a little bit of a break to let this kind of, congeal inside of the department. But good step forward, great stuff.
Thank you.
I think there's definitely some operational advantages to this, but also from a community engagement perspective, I think it's really important, because it gives each of the deputy chiefs an opportunity to sort of get involved with, the political offices and just the various communities. And so I think that's one of the really distinct advantages of this new plan.
Like neighborhood councils.
Exactly, like neighborhood council.
Can I move to adopt the recommendation for item 5D?
Second.
Oh, let me see if there's any comments.
Oh, sorry.
No, we can move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on to 5E is verbal update by the department relative to the smoke alarm campaign.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner, Commissioners, Fire Chief Terrazas, Council, Letitia. I'm Battalion Chief Alicia Welch, assigned to the Fire Prevention Bureau, and I'm here today to give you a verbal update of the smoke alarm campaign. It's been almost 1 year since we started really officially with the campaign, and what the graphic that we're going to put here on the wall for you and that you all have in front of you is going to show you that last year we had unfortunately lost 24 people in structure fires. Of those 24 fatalities, 19 were determined to be accidental, 2 were homicides, 2 were suicides, and 1 is still unknown. 62.5% of those structure fires did not have a working smoke alarm. 25% did have a working smoke alarm, and 12% still under investigation. What the graphic shows, it's going to be difficult for you to see from there, but you have a copy in front of you. It shows what we've been doing as a department and as a community relative to fire prevention and community outreach. You can see the red arrows or the red crosses indicate the fatalities throughout the city. The blue crosses indicate when the CLO's office launched the Safe Smoke Alarm Field Education Program. And then you can see very lightly a green triangle and a purple triangle that indicate events that we've had throughout the city to promote safety and education in communities that need it the most. And one of those events was I'm just going to list them for you chronologically if I could. That's going to help me stay more organized. In July, Fire Station 2 took their own initiative, and did a annual safety fair where they gave away 200 smoke alarms. In August, that's when we began our smoke alarm, our partnership with American Red Cross, and to support them with their home fire preparedness campaign. And we jumped on board with American Red Cross to support them in their installation program. In September, Chief Terrazas and the mayor, in partnership with American Red Cross, First Alert, and MySafeLA, had a press conference, which really got the public interested in our free smoke alarms. And then on October 11th, Battalion 13, where you can see in the lower part of the map, we had 5 fatalities last year in Battalion 13 alone. Battalion 13, led by Chief Castillo, Engine 46, Task Force 21, members from the Fire Prevention Bureau, members from MySafeLA, CERT, our Fire Cadet program, local faith-based organizations. We all got together in that community and we knocked on doors and we did home safety inspections, and we also installed 170 smoke alarms. We installed them. We didn't just hand them out. The important part is to get them up and to make sure they're working. Again, in October, Engine 37 was out in the community doing an event at Osh Hardware Store with our representative from First Alert, and that was in recognition of Fire Prevention Week. And then also in October, Karen Wagner of the Fire Foundation and I crafted a grant request to the tune of $50,000 to State Farm Insurance so that we can augment our program. Right now, all the smoke alarms that we use and all the carbon monoxide detectors we use are donated. So we wrote another grant request, and we're still waiting to hear on that. In November, American Red Cross and members from the Fire Prevention Bureau partnered up at Fire Station 39's 75th anniversary, where we had a smoke alarm booth there, where we not only gave away smoke alarms, but we took appointments for installations. So that was a very successful event. MySafeLA continues to do a lot of good work in the schools and senior centers and continues to be at work out in community events. They recently updated their pledge card to give us more thorough, accurate information, such as an address. A zip code doesn't give us really a lot. We need to know where we gave those smoke alarms away. You have that in front of you. And MySafeLA has also created mysmokealarm.com, where folks of the community can go sign up also for a home safety inspection and a smoke alarm installation. And then last week, I want you to know that I met again with American Red Cross, and then we're meeting this afternoon. We have targeted the next 2 battalions that we're going to do canvassing events, and those 2 are going to be in some of our highest fatality areas, which are Battalion 12 and Battalion 11. The chiefs and the firefighters in those areas have been very active, but we're going to join forces with all of our volunteers, and we're going to get in those neighborhoods in April. And then again, we'll be doing 2 events hopefully in June. Some other things of importance I think you'll want to know. Over the year 2014, we gave away approximately 22,000 smoke alarms. Those came from 6,000 of them came from First Alert. 10,000 were donated by the Fire Foundation, and MySafeLA gave us approximately 6,000 smoke alarms. In the council motion of last February, it's very specific by directing the fire department to engage with our local city departments and also outside agencies. And I think we've done a really good job, and that's why I bring you this this smoke alarm here is a strobe, and this is for those folks in the community who are hard of hearing. And so First Alert has given us, I think, 60 of these alarms that actually, if the smoke alarm goes off, a light will caution the occupant to get up. So with these smoke alarms that we've got, we've worked with the Department of Disability and Angela Kaufman over there at the Department of Disability. When they have a customer that requests smoke alarms, they can contact us and we'll go out and we'll help install them. We've worked with the Department of Aging to work with folks in their 16 senior centers. I've mentioned we work with the Fire Foundation. Emergency Management Department has done a really good job of connecting us with the faith-based community, and the faith-based community has come out to our community events and got involved as volunteers. So that's been a good connection. LAPD's joined us on some of our canvassing events. Housing Department has been there on our canvassing event, and then as I mentioned, American Red Cross, MySafeLA. LAUSD has been a huge proponent of our program. They allowed us to go into all of their more than 400 elementary schools during the month of March last year and do the 15 minutes of safety. And then NFPA has joined us and come out and provided some education to our firefighters on new technologies and smoke alarms. The last thing I just want to update, aside from the safe events that we've done, as you can see on the map, 15 minutes of safety last March, disaster awareness course, which is our preparedness program that you've seen, Commissioner. We've incorporated some smoke alarm education into that, and it's designed to be used in neighborhood council meetings, homeowners association meetings, really any organization that calls us. We don't only talk about disaster preparedness, make a plan, get a kit, get informed, but we're also highlighting our smoke alarm campaign and smoke alarm safety. So we've been trying to get involved any way we can, whether it be safety fairs, the ongoing giveaways, and all these other community meetings. We try to get involved and push smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector safety. That's all I have. Any questions?
That's all.
You've been
busy.
You know, actually, as I'm looking at the card here, the fifth bullet, it says some batteries require changing the batteries, and if my alarm, is not a 10-year alarm, it will require, batteries need to be changed once a year. Hopefully, you're going to change that because, as I understand, the new law requires a 10-year battery.
Yeah, it does. But when an occupancy that we go into, like we did in Battalion 14, there was a lot of smoke alarms that are still within a 10-year time frame. Then we changed a lot of batteries as well. I didn't bring all the new technology, but most of what they're giving us now are the 10-year lithium.
Right.
So we tried to give away all the battery-operated ones that First Alert gave us, and we've done that. And now we install 10-year lithium, and that's pretty much what we're providing to the public now.
Do you ever partner with the cadet program on the campusing?
Thank you, sir. Yes, the cadets were there with us in Battalion 13. I think there were 10 of them out in force, and without them there with us, we couldn't have got the work done that we did. It was predominantly Fire Station 63 cadets, 64s, and 66s. And all these events that we'll have in the future, we're going to incorporate bringing in our cadets because they really did a great job. And it's great exposure for them to see what public service is really all about.
Great, thanks.
Great work.
No public comments, so thanks. So moving on to 6.5F, I think we're taking that off calendar and bringing that back.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, I believe you have one public comment on this one.
No.
5E, there was only one. I know you have many, but.
Oh, yes, Frank Lima. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Madam President, Commissioners, good morning. Frank Lima with United Firefighters. Just want to be clear that UFLAC thinks this is a great program. It's safe for our communities, and we 100% support it, but not as is. Because, let's be honest and more transparent, and we'll really get behind it. Because what happens is a lot of knee-jerk reactions last year, and we had a spike in deaths. And why? Got to ask the question, why do we have a spike in deaths? Oh, because we permanently closed, over 20 resources and ambulance, truck companies, and engine companies throughout the city, and we've gotten about that much back. So that's the problem. These losses, they don't only impact our communities, but also test the resolve of our brave firefighters, paramedics, and inspectors. We need to tell the entire story when we're at these fire scenes, not just give the perception of let's blame this death that we didn't have an operable smoke detector. You left out the part that truck 14, truck 17 was permanently closed forever, and that response times have gone up, and that in a large city across the United States of America, we are by far the most understaffed on a per capita basis. Put that on the sheet that you hand out to the public as well. So, UFLAC agrees and supports public education and smoke alarms within our communities, but it's only one component of public safety. Rally these communities to talk to their council members and tell them we want this restoration here instead of trying to protect and sweep and hide the permanent closure that happened in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, may I ask Chief Welch, do you work with MySafe LA also? Oh, good. That's another program. I think we really haven't heard the full story about it. It's a wonderful program in our community that goes out and not only educates children, but now they develop a senior program. And it'd be great, I think, to hear the whole story about MySafe LA.
Put that in a thing. Having a briefing on that. So, and 5S is off calendar. So we move on to 5G, which is report by the department relative to the emergency ambulance service fee increase.
Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning.
Commissioners, Fire Chief, and Council. Excuse me. Before you is the emergency ambulance service fee increase, and according to Administrative Code, it instructs the Fire Chief to review the fee and make any recommendations for modifications and report to the City Council. So the attached report on the emergency fees was submitted to City Council on December 10th and will be heard in Public Safety Committee this Friday. It requests that an increase of the advanced life support, the ALS fee, be moved from $1,373 to $1,452, an increase of the basic life support fee from $974 to $1,030, an increase of the mileage rate from $15.75 to $19 for a one-way mile. The costs include the salaries, expenses, the department overhead, as well as the city overhead, divided by an average for the number of actual transports. It includes the EMS responses by the engines and the light forces, and we anticipate $230,000 in additional revenue this year and $1.7 million annually. And if you have any questions, I'm here to.
I just have a basic question. So do we charge every time we dispatch and we get there, even if we don't transport, or do we only charge if we transport?
These are just for transport. We only charge for transport.
So if we go and we assess and then we don't transport, there's no charge.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
So
motion to approve. Receive and file, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's 5G, and we have actually 4 public comments for 6. So we'll start with Mr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council Emeritus, Sierra Club. Basically, brush. We have the most stringent brush clearance requirements in the United States, but we still have brush fires. Seems kind of strange, because if you actually live in the brush areas, you know that nobody ever complies with the 200-foot fuel modification zone. That is 6 feet of clearance, not more than 4 inches on the ground. So we have some basic problems. If you're not going to inspect, don't have the rules. Simple. So we're going to, quotes, partner and help you guys in the Sunland Pacoima area, Mount Washington, Verdugo Hills, yeah, and more importantly, Mulholland, down north of Sunset Boulevard to north of Mulholland Drive. What? 200-foot clearance, 6 feet access, not more than 4 inches. How can you have a fire in that area? So why do we have to have brush issues? So we're quite concerned, but one of our members, he was also very concerned that if we identify such areas, will these become targets? Because I know enough about fire progression that might say you don't want to live on the top of the hill, especially on the northeast facing slopes, because you're going to have fire clearance. And I still remember some of the Sunline areas where they showed the tankers firebombing or water bombing next to a fence line not more than 50 feet from a house. So we're quite concerned about that. Thank you.
Next comment is from Alvin Thomas at Fire Protection.
Yeah, I might have filled out the form incorrectly. I must apologize to Letitia for that, Madam President, and also Chief Terrazas and the members of the board here, Fire Commission. Yeah, I wanted to comment on, I guess that would be 15-001, and as I said, I must have filled out the card incorrectly. But it was regarding the Fire Prevention Bureau overview, and specifically this new implementation of the compliance engine. I understand that this is something that's going to be enacted for the Chief Regulation 4 as far as submitting the paperwork to a third party. The problem I have with it is that they're going to charge for the service for each report that is filed. And I understand that this is not going to go towards the fire department, this particular fee. It's going to go straight to the compliance engine. And I think under this format, that is not a very good idea. Okay? I understand, I guess I'm under time restraint here, so maybe perhaps I should count on coming back on February 3rd. But I did look at the overview, and it was, I must compliment Deputy Chief Vidovich that it was very thorough and put together very well. But one of the case in point is the geocoding. I think it's an excellent idea. They do have the resources to take care of something like this, as well as having the relationship with the Office of Finance. Being a homeowner in the city of Los Angeles, I have a burglar alarm, and every year I get a notice that I must pay this fee to operate this alarm. And I think that would probably be a better way of charging for this particular service for the third party. If the fire department has the problem with human resources to put all the reports in one specific area. So
thank you.
That's what I wanted to address. Hope we'll take it up in the next meeting. Thank you for your time and your patience.
Thank you.
And also, I view all you guys as heroes. Anybody that get up in the morning and run into a fire building is a hero.
Thank you. So now, Mr. Frank Lima.
Madam President, Commissioners, Frank Lima with United Firefighters. Just two topics. Our cadets, recruits in the academy. I want to relay that UFLAC's opened their doors to them, and extending out help where the department, legally can't. And it's another demonstration of partnership, and UFLAC's helping out with retention of our current cadets. On another issue, I'd like to I'd like to thank the chief in regards to UFLAC had a safety concern brought to our attention. In our burn containers, we were burning wood, OSB, oriented strand board. If you're not familiarized with it, it's a bunch of little small pieces glued together. So most of the piece of wood is all glue and formaldehydes and, you know, things like that that are skin absorbent, regardless if you're wearing a face piece. Very high toxicity and carcinogenic. So we wrote a cease and desist letter to the chief. He immediately stopped the burn until we could figure it out, and we're in that process now. Some of our members are a little bit upset, but they don't get the bigger picture that we're looking out for their health. And that was it. Appreciate it, and thanks for all your work.
Thank you. Okay, so last public comment is from Mr. David Riles, who's a fire inspector. No? You're done? Okay, so that's it. So motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.